Welcome back to Cooking Basics with Chef Shane. This week we're going to be talking about knife safety. Knife cuts are among the most common ER reported incidents, over 700,000 plus each year. The reason why is because using a knife is a skill that you have to learn to use. You can't just go at it without any training. Knives are very handy, but they can be very dangerous. So the first thing I want to teach you with the knife is how to hold it. Okay, the proper way to hold the knife to cut is you pinch right here and wrap your 3 fingers around the handle. This is gonna feel a little awkward at first, but I promise you this is the correct way to hold the knife. It gives you the most control over the knife and the best angles and pressure for cutting. If you use one finger on top, your pressure is gonna be all over the place and you're not gonna get the desired cuts that you want. If you're holding it like a sword, it's just gonna be really awkward. I keep going down, but you can't see down yet. So the best way to hold it, pinch the blade, wrap these 3 fingers around it. This is called choking up on the knife, and this is the proper way to hold it. The next appropriate thing to do when using the knife is have a good stance. Have your legs and your feet line up with your shoulders. This way you have a nice, good, sturdy stance. And you're not gonna risk slipping or falling over, and you're firm in your place where you're gonna work. The next thing you need is a cutting board. Always, always, always use a cutting board when cutting. Cutting boards are designed to work with your knife. They're the less likely to dull it as fast. Other objects will dull it very quickly. If you're cutting on your cooking sheet or in your cake pan, you're gonna damage your cooking equipment, and you're going to dull your knife a lot quicker. So always use a cutting board. Always cut away from you. Don't cut towards your body. Don't cut in your hand. That reminds me, there is actually a medical terminology called avocado hand. People hold the avocados in their hands and they slice it. They're trying to be like the chefs on TV. Okay? If you don't have the skill to do that, don't do it. Always use a cutting board. Always cut away from you. You don't want avocado hand. It's so frequently they've actually given it a name of avocado hand. So always, always, always cut away from you, use a cutting board. If you need to walk around with your knife, okay, don't walk around waving it around like you're a swordsman, but you're gonna carry it close to your side. Okay, and I'm gonna put mine down a little bit, my elbow slightly bent, but it's still close to my side. And you're gonna announce what you're doing, especially if you're working with other people in the kitchen. If you're by yourself, you don't need to announce because you already know where you are. But as you're working with people, say I'm coming around with a knife, walking around, I'm behind you with a knife. Communication is huge because you're being considerate of other people. If they don't know that you're walking around with a knife and they turn around and they bump you or hit you, it could do damage to you or them and to other things going on. So you need to be considerate of others. Communication is huge. Carry it close to your side with your elbow slightly bent, just to protect everybody, to keep that knife out of way. If you need to pass a knife to someone, the best way to pass the knife is here on the spine of the blade. You're gonna hold that in your hand with the spine up against it. You're gonna turn it so the blade is away from you, and you're gonna hand it to the next person with the handle pointing out. So they can grab that handle and they can have the knife. If you just hand it to them like this, you could trip, they could fall. If you hand it to them like that, then they're gonna have to hold the spine and just trust that you're not gonna hurt them. So the best way to hand it to them is your hand on the spine, give them the handle, let them take the knife. I always, always, always wash my knives separately. Okay, they don't ever go in the dishwasher. Dishwashers are high heat, high pressure. They can damage the rivets, your handles, it can damage the blade. So I wash them separately just by hand. I just use a washcloth with a little bit of soap on it, wash my blade, clean it, and dry it and store it properly. I don't ever put it in the sink because sinks generally curve at the bottom. So if I were to put my blade in there, it's gonna bend my point and my tip. Now that's different. The point is where it comes together. The tip is the whole part. And it's gonna start to destroy the point and then start to bend the tip. So I don't put it in the sink so I don't start to ruin my knife. on the other side, if the sink is filled with hot soapy water and you put your knife in there, now you can't see it. It's covered with soap. And then say you reach in and you're gonna grab a bowl or a plate and you grab the knife and you pull and the knife doesn't come, or even just grabbing the knife, if you have a very well sharpened knife, you're gonna cut yourself. So don't ever put it in soapy hot water. I just avoid putting it in the sink altogether. I set it aside. I clean it separately from everything else. I dry it and then I hang it up and store it properly. Knives are an amazing tool. They're meant for cutting, chopping, slicing, dicing, prepping meats. That's all they're used for. Do not use them to substitute for anything else. They're not a can opener. They're not a can puncturer. They're not scissors. They don't open bags. They don't I can't even think of a lot of things. People come up with some crazy ideas what they use the knife for. Just use it for what it's intended. Don't substitute it for anything else. Make sure you choke up on the knife. Make sure you pass it correctly. Clean it separately. Always use a cutting board. And remember, it's a skill that you need to learn, and take your time to learn it. You don't need to go super fast. Haste makes waste. Take your time, learn the right skills, be safe with your knife. Thank you for tuning in, and stay safe out there.